Hi, and thank you for joining for today's WolEvac webinar. To get started with, we need to first add your WolEvac users or wardens into the system. What we need to do from your home screen here is come up the top here to Tools, drop down to Locations. We then need to scroll in the list to find your location. You may just have the one, however. Once we click on View and your location opens, in the menu on the left-hand side, we do come down to WolEvac and we click on here. Now, to add your wardens in, they need to be in your employee list, so there must be employees that are in the system already. We simply click on Add a WolEvac user. We can click here, we can scroll up and down looking for people, or we can type. In this instance, I will add Luke. You'll see we have two different Lukes that come up. We want this to be Luke Evans, so I click on Luke, and you'll see we have two types of users, a manager and an assistant. If I click here on Learn More, you'll see the explanation comes up. A manager is somebody who is able to create and close off WolEvac events. They will need to be sent the invitation to join the system and to download the URL to make it look like an app on their phone. And an assistant is somebody that we just load into the system along with their mobile phone number from their profile. And once a WolEvac event is created, they will receive a text message which will allow them to take part in marking people off. In this instance, for Luke, we just want him to be an assistant. So I'll tick as assistant here, click on Add Employees. And once we create an evacuation, Luke will then receive the text message. If we wanted to, or if we had have added Luke in as a manager, he would need to be sent his own unique code, which you can see the three managers that we have in here do have their own unique code. To resend that to them or to send that to Luke, if it was him, we'd simply put a tick in the box here, come down here to Run an Action, drop that down, and send the code to manager. You can then choose which way to send those. You can send via email or via text message. If your WolEvac user actually has their work emails on their mobile phone, I would suggest you send it to them via email. If not, please send it via text message, as there is a link that they need to click on to save on their phone. So we would, it makes life easier than trying to type that link in. At the end of this session, along with the recording, we will send you through the instructions on how you can save this URL to make it look like an app on your phone. Once we choose our method, we then click on the blue Run Action and those invitations are sent out. Okay. Now I'm going to bring my phone across onto the screen. This will allow me to go through and do a mock evacuation, so you can see it's a simulation. So you'll see here I have already saved the WolEvac URL on my phone. It looks like an app and it does work like an app. So to begin the evacuation event, I simply touch my finger on WolEvac. In here I am actually a WolEvac warden in 3 different locations. Today we are using Violet Mountains. So I touch my finger on Violet Mountains. We come through here. The first page that comes up is if you have zones set up in your system, you may have different zones for different buildings or different sections. You can go through and say that you only need to evacuate particular zones. Most cases it would just be the all zones that you guys would have. So you just touch your finger in here. It will go through, it will actually tick all of the zones in my case. We come down the bottom here, click on Create Event. Now, whilst this is thinking, all of the other WolEvac users in my system, both managers and assistants, have just received a text message that looks very similar to this. So on here, they click on the link once they go through, and of course yours will have your company's details there, not mine. And they will come through onto this page here once they click on that link. Now you will see up the top here, when I look at all, that is all the people that need to be made safe or marked as being safe in the system, but then it does break them down into the various categories. So you'll see in here, of those 26 that I need to make safe, there are 20 employees who are signed in. None are working remotely. I have 2 employees that are in my employee list. However, they are not signed in, but they can still come up on the list just in case they've forgotten. I have 3 visitors, 1 service provider or contractor, and of all of those 26, 2 are people who have indicated at the point of sign-in that they would need assistance to evacuate if there was an evacuation. So you'll see these guys appear in red, so we know to focus on those quickly. Underneath there is your zone cleared section. This is slightly different to going through and marking via name. If I touch here on zone cleared, this is where we go through and we actually just sign off by zone. So if you have zones, your wardens go there for their muster points or what have you, and you're just looking around to clear by zone to make sure there's nobody left in those zones, you can of course put a tick there for muster point 1 if that is your section to say that that zone is cleared. Using that method is not marking off individuals, however. If I go up the top here to back, and I come back to that main list. Now I'll come down here to assistance required so I can focus on these people fairly quickly. Now you'll see in here I have 2 people. They're both visitors. You can see that they're visitors by in here. And when they did sign in, one of the questions that we ask is what zone they will be going into. So both Jason and Mandy have indicated that they'll be going into level 2, which automatically puts them into muster point 2. Now, I can call out from the muster point to say, you know, are you safe? If Mandy or Jason are not answering me, you'll see next to both of those we have a telephone icon. And because our questions are when our visitors sign in, one of the mandatory questions we have is what is your mobile number? Because we have asked those questions in this evacuation event here, I'm able to contact them through the app. It is a normal telephone cost. However, I don't have to remember their number or write it down on a piece of paper and go out of the app into the phone part of the phone and call them. I can actually call them from here. If I get my finger just about here and I swipe from right to left, you'll see that I have a telephone icon that comes up. If I touch my finger on that icon down there, down the bottom, Jason's phone number comes up. I'm able to touch on that and I would be able to call Jason to see if he's safe. Once he responds to let me know he's safe, he couldn't hear me or what have you, I can hang that call up, go through, touch on verified, and Jason has now jumped out of that not verified section and he's gone into the verified section. Now, not only has he jumped into the verified section on my list, but he has on all the other WolEvac users who are in marking people off as well. So they only need to be marked once and then they go into that verified list for everybody else. Again, I can do the same for Mandy if need be. I can swipe from right to left. If I can see Mandy or she's answered me, I can tick on verified and you'll now see that I have no people that need assistance required anymore to make safe. They're both in that verified section. I can go up the top here and I can hit the back button and you'll see that I now have 2 people in green in the all section. And the assistance required is 2 of 2 people have indicated that they're fine. Now, if I go up the top here, in this instance, we all mark off. So I go to that all section, and that gives me everybody. So that's everyone in those other sections, be it employees that are signed in or on-site, employees off-site, and visitors or what have you. I have the 2 that we've already marked safe over in that verified section. You'll see over here we have a funnel for those of you who have separate zones and want their wardens just to look after or mark off people from their zones. If I touch on this funnel here, you'll see it's currently ticked for all. So if I untick all, then I go in and say I need to see who the people are in building 1, level 2, for example. That would be my muster point. So if I click my finger on there, come down the bottom here to that tick and touch my finger on there, you'll see that my list has dropped down. I have nobody that I need to mark off for that particular section. They've already been marked off. I touch that funnel again. I can go back, untick that and go into this one down here. I can change zones if need be, hit that tick and you'll see that I have quite a few people in muster point 2 that need to be marked off as being safe. So Brody is an employee, you can see, and Carla is an employee. If I Swipe from right to left with Brody. He's in front of me. I can see him there. I verify him. He's jumped over into that verified section. Now, I'm going back to this funnel here. I'm going to tick on all again and come down to this tick here, just so we've got everybody in our list. I have more people to play with. Now, you'll see the list under all, so it's showing everybody. I've 23 people to verify in this section. Everybody appears in alphabetical order based on their first name. It doesn't matter if they're an employee or a visitor, or a contractor or a service provider, as we call them in the system here. They just appear in alphabetical order. I can scroll up and down to find people, or if I go back to the top, I can come up the top here to search a person. If I touch my finger in there and type in Vicky, for example, you'll see that it brings up Vicky's name. Vicky's standing in front of me. I'm able to swipe from right to left. I can verify Vicky and make her safe. I then go up the top there into that clear and come back to that full list. I can also go in, you can see that I have people's departments in the system in their profile. So if I go up the top here and type in marketing, for example, it's another way that I can put the list into a different order. If I say marketing and click on done, these are the 3 people in marketing. So I could mark off Carla, Duncan and William if need be. These are the people from marketing. So there are several different ways that you can minimize and get your list down to a different amount. If I touch on the clear button here again, though, we go back to that full list. Okay, now you'll see down the bottom here, we have notices section down here. Now, if I touch my finger on notices, it just lets me know that, both Michelle and Gigi, who are our WolEvac wardens in here as well, have received their text message and they've both clicked on it. So the system's letting me know that there are another 2 people marking off these guys as being safe. You'll also see in this notice section here, we can use this as a chat function between any of the signed in WolEvac users. So if I touch my finger in the bottom down here and I say, I need help in muster point 1, for example, once I hit send, once it goes through, you can see that I've sent it at what time it's gone through. Both Michelle and Gigi would receive down the bottom here that red number 1 to let them know that I've communicated with them in there. In the meantime, if I come back down here, you'll see Michelle has responded already to say that she's on her way. If I come down the bottom here to the summary, I can go back to that list. You can see we've got our infograph here, which just lets us know that we've got 20% of our zones cleared, 19% of people are marked off as safe at the moment. Now, if I come up the top here again and I touch onto that all section, I'll just scroll back up to the top. As I'm talking, you'll see that this number over here is starting to climb and my screen is jumping. That's letting me know that the other wardens are now marking people off. So as they're marking them off, they're jumping off my list as well. Another really cool feature that we have in here down the bottom is our SMS verify. So if I come down the bottom here, I'm actually able to go through and tell the system I want to send out a "Are you safe?" message to anybody that I have their mobile phone number stored in the system, be it a visitor who signed in with it or our contractors or employees. In this instance, I want to send it out to my service providers or my contractors just to make sure, they're okay. It's another way that we can go through. So I can either tick all, but we only want to do contractors in here. So if I touch my finger on that service providers here, I come down the bottom here and I hit send. So any of my contractors that are signed in will actually receive a text message that looks very similar to this one here. Of course, it will have your details up here, not mine, where it says, please reply with the word safe to verify you are safe. Now, once they reply to that text message, they do receive it as a text message. Once they reply to the text message, it does come up at the bottom here that says notices. If I touch on the notice there, it comes up to say that all are accounted for and safe in muster point 1. So far, I've not heard from Blake. If I touch on that summary button there, then I'm able to go through. If I click on service providers here, you can see that Blake has actually responded to say, well, he's marked himself off as safe. If I click on that verified section there, You can see that Blake is now marked off as being safe, so he must have been caught by one of the other wardens as they've come through, and they've signed him off as being safe. He's seen one of those, so there's no need for him to respond to that text message because he has been marked as safe. Had he have responded to that text message, however, it would come up in here in one of the notices with a 1 here, and it would actually have, you know, a photo if we have Blake's photo loaded in the system, or it would come up here with one of those bubbles. It would come up here and say that Blake Reardon and the time, and it would actually say, you know, I'm stuck in the stairwell on level 1, or whatever it is that he responded to would come up as a message. So we would know that we need to actually go and make sure he's okay, or send somebody to that section to make sure he's okay. Now, if I go back to the list here, you'll see we've got 24 of the 26 have been made safe. The 2 who have not been signed off are employees that are off-site. Now, if I touch my finger on there, you can see we have 2. We have Xavier and Leon. So they're both not signed in. So there is a really good chance that they're actually not in today. However, that would be a judgment call that you guys would need to make as a business unit. Now, in here, you can see I have that telephone icon next to Xavier. So I can scroll from right to left. I can call Xavier and make sure he's okay, or I could have sent that text message through if I needed to. I've spoken to Xavier. Xavier's let me know that he's actually not in today. He's at home sick, so I know he's safe. I can touch on verify, and he'll get. Now, Leon is an employee. However, Leon doesn't have his phone loaded in the system, so I can't call him from within the system. Now, you can see here that his job title is night shift technician. He's in the Department of Night Shift, so there's a really good chance that he's actually not in here, or not in at work. He could be at home asleep in bed. However, this would be something that you guys would need to discuss as a business unit to see whether you would mark Leon as being safe or whether you would leave him unmarked because you can't confirm that he's safe or not. In our instance, we don't mark Leon as being safe. We have him as being someone who's not verified. And once we're allowed to go back in, we can go into HR and find his contact details through other parts of the system and give him a call. Now, if I come down the bottom here, go back to the summary, you'll see in here that we've got 96% of our people safe. We've only got 1 missing. There's 1 on that employee list down the bottom there. We can go through now and mark off those zones if you wanted to mark off through the zones in there, so we know that all of those zones visually are all cleared and done. Come back down to the summary down the bottom here and touch my finger. Now, as a manager, when I click on leave event down here, I have 3 options. I can hit cancel because I've hit the wrong button. Leave event, which assistants can also do, is if I touch on leave event here, you'll see that I go out of the event. When I get my last 5 stuff that comes up, you'll see that I had a WolEvac a little while ago this morning before I started this one, and the last 5 that are now completed. If I go back at the top here to choose a location, and I need to rejoin after I've done what it is that I needed to do, which made me leave here, I touch on Violet Mountains again. You can see I'm given the option to rejoin this same event. So if I click here on join event, you can see I go back to exactly the same spot that I left it in. Leon has still not been found, so he's still the 1 person that we have. If I click on all, he's the only person that comes up on that list. Now, over in the verified section here, if I touch my finger on verified, you can see that everyone who's been verified is over in here. Now, if we realise that we've accidentally marked off Brody as being safe, it was a case of mistaken identity or what have you, if I get my finger here from right to left, I can unverify him, so the other team know that they need to start looking for him. If I go back into that not verified section, you'll see that's jumped up to 2, and you can see that Brody's there. So now we can call Brody if need be, and he can say that he's safe. He's actually, he signed out. Well, he left the building and forgot to sign out. So I can verify him as being safe again. So you can bring people back from that verified section if it's been done in error. Now, if I come down the bottom here to leave event again, and I click here, this time I close the event, Once I click on close the event, that has now closed the event for everybody. So nobody else can be marked off. So Leon, if he's found, can no longer be marked as safe. When I go back and I see this last 5 events, you'll see this is the event that we've just done to see that we're 96% correct. Now, if I go back to choose a location and I click here on Violet Mountains, I would have to recreate the whole event all over again if I needed to go back in. Now, just let me hit the back on there. I'll take my phone off the screen, and now we'll go through and we'll actually have a look at all of the reporting that we have from there. So we go up the top here to reporting, and I drop into WolEvac reports. Now, as I explained before, I am actually awarding in a few other places, so I can see all the reports. In this instance, I do want to jump down to Violet Mountains. That's where we were today. And you can see here is today's event, the 14th of December. It's now closed. If I click here on view reports, it brings up a whole heap of information. So we do have the numeral graphs in here to say that we had 50% of people who were employees that were off-site were marked as safe, but 100% for all of the others. We had no employees working remotely, so we didn't need to worry about marking any of those. You can see when the event was created, the time, who created that. It's now closed, how long the event went for. And if I hover over 3 verifiers, it'll actually give you the names of the 3 wardens who were verifying people. As I scroll down here in the view people, you can see we have it in name order, where they're from. So, if they're an employee, for example, what department they're in. You can see we even have what zone they're assigned to. If they're visitors, you can see, or contractors, you can see what company they're from. Were they verified as safe, yes or no, with Leon being the one who says no. Their on-site status, so were they actually signed in, and you can see that Leon wasn't actually signed in. And we can export this into a PDF. Now, if I go over to view all logs, you can see there are a couple of different views that we can have for these reports. If I click here, for example, on view all logs, this gives you an in-depth look of what has happened during the session. So you can see what time I created the event, what time the 2 crew members joined. You can see that they've received their text message. They've actually clicked and joined the event. You can see that I marked off that zone. Who marked who off as being safe? You can even see in here where I've put through that notice to say I needed help in muster point 1 and Michelle's response to let me know. You can see that Michelle marked Bailey off as being safe. As we scroll down, you can see Gigi marked Michelle off as being safe. And we go down now. You can see here that Blake self-verified himself as being safe. So he's gone through, he's marked himself off as being safe on that text message. Had he have really responded and said that he was stuck in the stairwell level 1, it would come up very similar to over here. So it would say, SMS reply and stuck in the stairwell on level 1. You can also see where I've gone through and verified all of those zones. When I've gone through and left that event and Michelle has left, you can see I've come back and I've unverified Brody, then I have verified Brody, and then when the event has now been closed. Again, we can download this as a PDF report. Alrighty, now all of this will be sent through to you. We will also make sure that we send you through some links and some information to help you guys go through here. Thank you so much for your attendance today, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.